Hello, welcome to the Spinner Rack, our comic book review show here on the Master Powercast channel. And on this episode, I asked you to confirm it, and you're pretty sure that it is. This is the newest comic that we've ever covered on the rack.
Yeah, I don't think the sleigh ride with Joker. I think it was 2007. So this might be technically 1 year newer than that.
We're cutting it close.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Joker's Asylum, the Penguin issue. So the interesting thing about this, we get Joker's Asylum, starts here at like August 2008, ends up wrapping up in the 2010s with Joker's Asylum 2. But the Penguin takes place in the first 5 issues of this series that came out. So we start with the Joker, second issue is the Penguin, followed by Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, Two-Face. And then later on, we come back with Joker's Asylum 2, with the Riddler, Harley Quinn, the Mad Hatter, Killer Croc, and Clayface. Now, I haven't gone on to read any of the other issues, but according to you, the rest of them aren't that good.
Yeah, I only sampled, I think, some of the first run. I'm like, ugh, you know, it wasn't just like the artwork wasn't great, but I didn't enjoy the stories at all. Okay. I just didn't think they were very good. There's some other like the Batman annual, I forgot what number it is, but that gives like a great origin of the Riddler. It's a bit longer because it's an annual, but you know, it's done by some of the best talents at the time who tell a wonderful Riddler origin. And that was something I wanted us to cover too, but it's, like I said, it's a bit longer. It may not take that long to cover, but that's one definitely left to cover. But I got to give kudos. This recommendation or my suggestion comes from listening to a channel called Mr. Rogues, who's a big Batman fanatic and villain fanatic for Marvel and DC, but he loves the Batman villains. And over the years, I've gone back to his channel time that when I get like on a Batman kick and just want to hear some fun recommendations and some intellectual thoughts about Batman and the Rogues. And he's he's friendly with our good friend Danielle, Penny Dreadful, and she made some recommendation the last time she was with us, and I went and I think I read 1 or 2 of the ones that she'd sent me, and I went back and reread the first one she gave me, and I liked it more the second time I read it than I did the first, even though it was wonderful. It was the ending is what kind of like, you know, not like what happens, but like the very, very end. I'm like, no. But it was wonderful up to that point. So I went back and reread it again. I'm like, hey, this is a lot better than I remembered. So Daniel knows what the fuck she's talking about. I would never question it anyway, and so does Mr. Rogue. So if you're not familiar with him, I highly recommend checking out his channel. I think he does some current stuff from time to time, but he's got a shit ton of videos on every Batman villain from obscure to more well-known, movie reviews on all the Batman villains and the movies themselves and everything. And so this was one of his recommendations, if I remember correctly, or maybe Danielle recommended it to me. I can't remember which, but I want to give them so much credit because they've stuck with the mythology and the comics a lot longer than I ever did. I got checked out after Batman knocked up Talia and had a bastard kid, and I was like, this is fucking dumb, and Hush sucked too. So this I give them kudos for this recommendation this evening.
Yeah, so this is the Penguin issue coming out in September 2008, which, when you think about it, it's almost 20 years ago.
Almost 20 years ago, man.
Yeah, in my mind, this seems new to me, but it was 20 years ago. Yeah, a lot has happened in the comic world.
Trying to picture like where we were at that time.
Yeah,
I was still working at Wade's. That's for sure.
Yeah, you would have been there. I would have been taking my summer excursions to Alaska. And these couple times. So yeah, it's definitely a long time ago. But here we have the Penguin on the cover. We have Batman here in his monocle. It's a cool cover, very minimalistic.
Yeah,
it gives you a lot to think about. We have here at the bottom the 2 Jasons, Jason Aaron and Jason Pearson, which I'm not.
I can't say I'm familiar with them either, dude.
So my main question here for you as we get going, does each issue in Joker's Asylum start out like this? Because it's very much a Tales from the Crypt Keeper kind of vibe. It's
an anthology series for sure. And Joker is your Crypt Keeper for the entire run. Yeah.
Yeah, so we start here in Arkham Asylum, as you do, the incurable ward. So we get a thung. We have a Joker saying, oh, hey, sorry, didn't see you coming. So he's just he's getting some exercise. Been a little busy before Betty Bye. So you know what they say: exercise is good for the soul. And according to the state parole board, my soul could still use a bit of polish. So we get your typical Joker dialogue. So someone's like, "Hey, shut up, keep it down." And he's like, "Harvey, I'll chew your eyeballs into jelly if you don't mind your own damn business." I'm sorry, where were we? Oh yes. So
Yeah.
it starts off. I love the vibe of this already.
Yeah, I do too. And I just love anytime I hear or see the Joker interact with Two-Face is always a pleasure to me. Even if it's just a quick little like wink, it's still it's like, yeah, I'd like to think that these guys may kind of be buddies, but also like to get under each other's skin quite easily.
Yep. And in our top left corner, we have Joker continuing on and saying, "This is a story about souls and soulmates, about birds and beautiful babes, and most important, about one of my all-time favorite themes, malicious laughter. Like a lot of stories, this one starts with a flashback to high school and the day of the big dance, and to be a boy named Oswald Cobblepot." And then you get him looking so sad right here.
Yeah.
So then we get our credits. Joker's Asylum featuring the Penguin and He Who Laughs Last. So we get our credits here of Jason Aaron, the writer, Jason Pearson, artist and cover, Dave McCraig, colors, Rob Lee, letters, Janine Schaefer, associate editor, and Mike Martz, editor. Once again, none of those names ring a bell to me. But Tyler, what were you about to say here about old Oswald?
No, because a lot of times I they like to dabble in the backstories of a lot of the Batman villains, and I think as long as like, okay, yeah, they can have a tragic past, but you shouldn't feel sorry for them once they reach the status quo of what we know them to be. Like they're not sympathetic, because I look at it as like, yeah, this may be sad and understand how they end up on this path, but they know what they're doing. They enjoy what they're doing. Excuse me. That's why I'm like, a story like this where I'm like, I don't like backstories for asshole villains. Like I don't need them to see how they fell from grace and became the devil incarnate. This is like a sad story of like, yeah, I buy this. I totally accept this, because the way he carries on, and much like in the other one shot I was going to suggest we cover as well, this is very they're very similar in tone and what's the right word, context. Like they share the same, like, yeah, this is how the Penguin is, this is what how he views the world around him from his youth to today, as we'll get deeper into it. Like there's a reason behind all of it, and he relishes it, and doesn't matter how vindictive and ugly and malicious it turns out to be.
Yeah. So we start off here, Oswald standing on these steps right on the outskirts of school. There are these three girls that are standing a couple steps above him. He says, "I don't understand, Allison. I thought we ain't Cobblepot. You must be crazy if you think I'd ever go out with you." So basically what we're coming to learn is a note was given to him that he thought was written from her, but it turns out this is not the case at all. It's just the girls making fun of him. And I think in all facets, whatever side of the coin you are in this type of scenario, we all experience this at some point in school without it.
Yeah. It's you may not share the same physical traits as Oswald, but dealing with rejection, being mocked or laughed at when you're making that step of showing courage, of approaching your girl you're scared to death, to ask out, and I think most guys often will think this may happen, that you're going to get laughed at for taking a shot. You don't think that they're going to look at you the way that they do, and it's things like that you don't forget. You may not lose sleep about it. You may not have to be like a war veteran going through shell shock, but there are moments like that you never quite forget.
Well, in Oswald's case, that will certainly play a part as we go through the issue. But saying, "What note? What are you talking about, you grubby little penguin?" And then, "Laura, you did this. Oh God, that's so funny." So it's just the girls are pranking on each other and using him as sort of just collateral damage. It's like, who cares about him as long as I'm getting one over on my friend just to have a laugh. Can't believe he actually fell for it. So he drops the flowers that he has. All the girls continue laughing, and then
it transitions to more laughing with girls in a different scenario.
Yeah, we fast forward now, and this is one of those things that we're going to come to learn. What sort of really sets him apart amongst the other rogues gallery, because he, in the position that he ends up being in, just the crime boss aspect of it, he could easily take out so much of Gotham with very minimal effort, and that's what makes him so dangerous.
Yeah,
compared to a lot of the others. And after reading this, because we've mentioned it before, I need to just finally sit down and do it. I need to watch.
I knew this was coming.
I need to watch the Penguin show. Because you've given it high praise. My friend Josh has given it high praise, and I guess I've just always been about it because of just the Batman movie. I like him. I like the Penguin portrayal in it, but after that movie, I was like, I don't want to see anything else from this universe.
And with good reason. It's an overinflated movie with some great moments and good sequences, but a lot of bullshit in it.
Yeah. But as you said, we go from the laughter at the beginning of the book. Now he's here with beautiful women, and he's riding in the back of a limo. So they're saying, Ozzy baby, out all the bubble. We're all out of bubbly, and me and the girls are still awfully thirsty. Can you get Bruno to stop and pick us up maybe some more of that expensive stuff? Maybe some of those fish eggs too. What do you call them? And I'm not going to eat any of the eggs. And they're having their conversation here, and he says, Bruno, pull over.
I like he's pretty much in shadow the entire time. Like in deep thought. You just see him just puffing on a cigarette and just like processing the situation here. Like, as we're gonna see here, he's like, I don't want to deal with these divas right now. I'm not into this. I want to be alone.
Yeah, because they're like, why are you stopping here? My hair's gonna get ruined because it's raining outside. He's like, yeah, just get out. And then they pull away. Wait, come back! You can't just leave us here, you ugly little freak.
And he's going to a black market auction.
God, yeah, which it's for Gotham, very, very appropriate. All this underlying shit that's going on. That I would assume that the general citizens of Gotham are probably more than aware of to an extent, but at the same time too, there's layers to this that definitely
and the city's infested with so much crime. Like, Batman can only cover so much. The Gotham City Police Department can only cover so much. Other superheroes like Nightwing, Huntress, Robin, Batgirl, they've got so much, and Tim Drake, or not Tim Drake, Dick Grayson operates in sorry other Batman fans, I'm drawing a complete blank here, but he does not operate in Gotham. I'm drawing a fucking, but it's a mistake on my part, so I please forgive me on that one. I'm not gonna sit there and bullshit my way so I can save face.
Leave a comment down below and let it
I'll look it up when I'm done, but I please forgive me, because I don't like when people want to try and bullshit their way through facts they don't know, so I'm owning that mistake right now.
But the point is, they can't cover it all, and then some of them aren't even there to begin with. But we go to this underground market: Siberian tigers, Thanagarian laser swords, human kidneys, you name it, whatever you're looking for, sir, I guarantee we've got it. And he says, I doubt that. I love just the immediate dismissal so far. Just pretty much everybody that he's come in contact with that we've seen so far in this issue.
He's nothing thrills him. Nothing pleases him. He's very easily just like, nothing is moving him. Nothing's moving the needle at this point.
But you see here armored vehicles, all kinds of weaponry, all
ammo depot, and God knows what else, is set up, outside of what's already mentioned, like various cars. It's a nice little kind of open map of what this market is offering here.
Yeah, it just seems like one of those trade events that you would go to. Just people trying to sell their products
Yeah.
to get someone to invest and everything. Except no, it's just like all these illegal things.
And he
And
approaches or passes a cage, and someone speaks out, and it just draws his attention immediately. Obviously, the sound, the soft voice of a frightened woman.
yeah, and you can even see it in the expression on his face when she's saying, "Help me, please," a tear coming down her eye. But also too, just all of these
Yeah,
women
they're all
behind there.
either drugged up, knocked out, or like this one is just struggling with everything she's got. Like, someone please have sympathy on me right now.
Yeah.
Like, they're not screaming, they're not yelling because they're probably well aware they'll get beaten up or who knows what else, probably worse.
Yep.
They just have to accept their fate there.
And then we cut to the morning time. She wakes up. She's surprised. He's there saying good morning, and so, no, it's okay. You're safe now. No one's gonna harm you here. She's saying you bought me, didn't you? No, my dear, I don't buy people. So the way you're being treated was beyond savage, and I simply couldn't stand for it. Not even animals should be caged like that. Which, going back to the thing, what I like about it a lot though is, for most people, when you think about the Penguin, right? One of, if not more so, 9 times out of 10, it's either Danny DeVito and Batman Returns, or you're thinking the '60s show, maybe the animated series. But I think for the most part, people have a tendency Danny DeVito and Batman Returns more often than not, and you're thinking, yeah, he likes the birds, the umbrella, all that stuff. So to read this, you're getting a different take on the character.
Yeah, and they really transitioned, the Penguin into a mob boss in about the mid '90s. Like, after Batman Returns comes out, and I think about a year or so after that, I think Chuck Dixon was he's one of the more prominent writers on Batman, like one of the most well respected writers on Batman. And I think I can't remember if Graham Nolan was working on the book too. He's one of the more like prominent artists as well. Mm-hmm. But I think he was the one that kind of pushed to actually establish the Penguin as like, we're not going to make him the umbrella enthusiast who's all about birds, like, let's make him a crime boss. And I think even before then there were touches of that, like, kind of like, I think we're going to go this way with this character. And you go back and read some of that other stuff, and like, I would love to read more, and maybe there are more, but it's just fascinating to see this character like being one of the biggest crime lords in one of the biggest criminal or crime-filled cities in comic books, and not just low. Like, this is, I won't say he's not the kingpin level, where the kingpin pretty much controls all the crime.
But he definitely has a lot of connections, as we're going to find out here a little bit later in the issue, that can definitely ruin someone's life. But she say, you rescued me, thank you. And I love the expression change that we have here at the bottom, where he's very stern and he hadn't let the guard down, but when she hugs him, then you see the automatic change.
That's something too, like, you can tell this character, like, is ugly and vicious as he is. And when I say ugly, I don't mean like physically, I mean like his mentality. Mm-hmm. This guy does not hesitate to hurt and kill. It just shows you that desire of having female validation is something that he is relished and wanted. Even though sitting in a limo with beautiful women, even he knows this is bullshit. Mm-hmm. This woman looks at him and says, "You did something nice for me," and doesn't like look at him in horror, like, "Oh, get away from me!" Like, mm-hmm. She hugs him, and like, that's something. It's quite safe to say Oswald Cobblepot has not experienced much in his life. Any woman being like willingly and wantingly throwing themselves on and saying thank you and physically touching him, mm-hmm. And that look of like absolute shock, like, it just, as we see here on this page here, and there are some other stories too, I think, where he has some love stories with women where he's wants to reform. I think there's a couple of Penguin stories too. I think one in the 70s, I think, as well, and then one in the I think the 90s too, kind of similar to the episode Birds of a Feather, which is what the animated series I think did a version of, where he's kind of brought in with this beautiful woman, and it's just kind of more or less like a kind of a joke almost. Like even his intentions like are sincere. Like, I don't want to do crime anymore. I'm done with that. I don't want to antagonize with Batman. Like I'm out of that. And they're mocking of him and using him as like a way to like treat themselves, reverts him back to like, all right, you guys think this is what you're thinking of me? Well, fuck all of you. And
Yeah.
you know, it's a character that, you know, I think for people, some people can relate, like having the affection of somebody goes a long way, and that you don't want to be this way. You don't want to be ugly. You don't want to be harmful, but that when you're treated so poorly for so long, you kind of feel like, well, I get it. Doesn't make it right. You know, you can't sit there and justify and say, "Oh, he's justified." Like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
But it gives layers to this character that what this character really needs is just, you know, the warmth of a good woman.
Well, just and someone too that's not gonna in this case not look at him for the power or the money. It's
and they not even look at him for his physical attributes.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, you're a good man. You did something for me that I thought my life was over. I was going to be dead. You just got me out of there just because you didn't like what you saw. And that woman was at a point of like, oh my God, please anybody. She would have been, but that says a lot about her personality, that she's just happy to be saved and safe.
Yeah. But he goes on to say, and this is a pretty humorous part of the book, her name is Violet. She's amazing. She's been here 2 weeks now. She's brightened up everything. Did you notice the geraniums when you came in? She picked those out, and you see someone crash and behind him. And when I'm reading this, like, what is going on here? So he keeps going on. She sunny disposition after everything she's been through, doesn't have any family. She's got nothing in the world, but I try to buy her things, and she says she doesn't want gifts. She just enjoys my company. Can you believe that? I don't think anyone's ever enjoyed my company before. And you see the guy that crashes in, gets up, pulls out a
knife. Yeah.
He's getting ready to attack. He gets smacked in the face, and Oswald just keeps going on here. He's like, oh yeah, it even made it the wallpaper
on his desktop. Yeah.
Just yesterday, I realized I've gone 2 whole days without even thinking about stealing or anything. That's got to be a record. I'm her hero, she says, and above all else, I just don't want to let her down. I've never been one to believe in soulmates, but you know, she could really be the one. And then it just turns out this whole time Batman's just beating the shit out of his cronies.
Yeah, like he's on to whatever Penguin has been linked to at that moment, and he's like, just remember one thing, I'll be watching. Yes. See you next week. It's all routine. Like, it's fucking brilliant. I love
it. This is probably arguably my favorite part of the book, just because I mean, look how happy he is, and
he is.
Yeah,
it just completely like, I don't care, Batman. You beat up my guys. You tore them off us. I'm in love. I'll see you next week. We'll do it again.
Yeah. So then after this, we go to the Le Fou Frog, this restaurant. So yeah, he's
got a prime seat in this very upscale restaurant.
Yeah. You've saved me. And it's like, no, you're the one that saved me, you know, and I could say all the time, I just couldn't imagine it. Feeling so grand having someone like you in my life. So it's like, oh, this is nice. So Violet, I think I'm starting to fall in love. And at this point, he hears the laughing. So I love this part because it goes back to what we saw there at the beginning, and then the transitioning to the modern day. So he hears the laughing in, he turns over, and then we get this bit of dialogue. Maybe it's just a coincidence that the chef laughed while looking in his direction. Maybe he's just thinking of something funny, some joke maybe he heard the other day while glancing around the room. But Penguin's gonna take it
looking in the Penguin's direction when he laughs. So Penguin, out of conditioning and instinct at this point in his life, is assuming this chef is laughing at him based on his physical traits, and that he's at a table with a beautiful woman. It's a joke. Like that's humorous. No context, just out of just like, this is how this man has lived his entire life. Mm-hmm. Everyone's laughing at him, and he assumes anyone laughing in the vicinity of the Penguin must be laughing at him.
Yeah,
which shows you how far gone this man's mindset has gone. Like, when you look at this, like, this guy should be locked up in Arkham with the rest of them, because of how intensely crazy he gets, even though his crimes are not like the Joker or even the Riddler and Two-Face, where they're criminally insane. But this, when you see this kind of character traits of the Penguin, is like he's borderline criminally insane.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the white flash of anger that he gets.
Yeah,
And
intense. Picks up that knife, and it's just like all he wants to do is just like take that knife and just slam it multiple times in this guy's heart, in his throat, whatever he can get a hold of.
Yeah. So Violet stops him. So what are you doing? At that point, the anger sort of subsides. Sorry, it's nothing. Let's enjoy our dinner. So they eat their dinner and enjoyed their evening, and he never said a word anymore about it. But a few days later, the building had a new owner, and the restaurant was forced to close. Its employees were all fired, and it just keeps adding on from. Oh man, this is so fucked up.
This is a rabbit hole of madness.
Yep.
Over an assumption.
Yep. And the day after losing his job, the chef found out that his girlfriend had been suddenly deported to Romania and his best friend arrested for child pornography, despite his instance that he was framed. The day after that, a new tenant moved in next door and began blasting their stereo at all hours of the day and night. The landlord stopped taking his calls. The church he attended was closed for fumigation after a bizarre infestation of killer bees. The park where he liked to sit and read was annexed and bulldozed. And then the chef, who was a recovering alcoholic, woke up one morning to find that there was a 24-hour liquor store that had opened right across the street from his apartment. Less than 2 months after he crossed paths with the Penguin, a night janitor found the chef in a bus station restroom, and he had hanged himself. Like he made it his mission, just off of that assumption. I am going to take anything that this man has ever loved or liked to do, and I'm going to completely destroy it. And that's
don't even know the guy's name.
Nothing.
Just
it doesn't matter. Yeah,
I'm going to ruin your entire life.
And then right here, the day after that, the Penguin scanned the obituaries, and you hear him like,
fuck. And the color of red in that panel, like of him looking at the obituaries. I mean, that's just demonic. Like it's a great way of illustrating he's fucking nuts, man.
But just all of the connections that he would have to make all that stuff happen to
go through the details of like, okay, what does this guy tell me everything from his best friends, his family, his problems, all these little details, the reconnaissance of like, follow him. What does he like to do today? Take that away from him. Take that away from him. Put this in front of him. Like that takes a lot of like time, money, effort, and just resources that are just fucking endless. Like that is something that if the Kingpin was hell, the Kingpin did do that with Daredevil.
Yeah.
And Born Again, the Kingpin spent a great deal of resources breaking down Matt Murdock, having him lost his home, then blew up his home. Had him, pretty much let go as a lawyer. Yeah. He's living in a shitty, rat's nest of a hotel with nothing, absolutely nothing. And it had him so paranoid that everyone's out, even his best friend, out to get him because that's what the Kingpin did to him. So why they have not done a Daredevil Batman crossover with the Kingpin and the Penguin?
I was actually about to mention that too. Could you even just imagine the Penguin and Kingpin going?
I wanted to do a commission with Kevin Sharp depicting the Kingpin and the Penguin in this kind of upscale like club suite with some attractive women hanging over the Penguin and Bullseye against like this like window holding a batarang up like this, smiling at Batman, and like setting up like the Daredevil is after Penguin and Batman is after Kingpin and Bullseye, and that Matt Murdock was hired as the Penguin's lawyer or reaching out. And I just want the idea of like Bullseye, like, because they crossed paths in the Marvel versus DC very shortly, but I just love the idea of him leaning up against this window, overlooking like a glitzy nightclub, and just smiling right at Batman holding a batarang. Like, I have one of your tools here. I'm gonna kill you with it one of these days. I'm just letting you know that. Oh, and I'm like, I it's one of those on my wish list to get Kevin to do for me.
I will. I think I'll jump in with you on that. I'll pay for half if you want.
Hey, if you want to do that, man, seriously.
I think we should definitely do that very soon. Yeah, once I'm kind of back more into a regular schedule and the money is a little bit flowing in a better state, then yeah,
Yeah, because
let's
I feel like with this one,
revisit
because
that.
Kevin works better. Like if you have more characters, it needs to be like a double page.
Yeah.
Because trying to cram Bullseye, Daredevil, Batman, Kingpin, Penguin,
Hmm.
and at least one like beautiful lady kind of hanging over the thing. That's 6 characters, and to try and set up the scale of this office slash like suite with a nightclub, you know, a double page would probably give Kevin a lot more room, because then a double page is like max 12 characters.
Yeah.
But if we're just doing 6 on a double page, it gives everyone, room to breathe.
Something to think about.
Yeah, believe me, I actually had that was one of my suggestions last winter, and I changed my mind and wanted to do something He-Man related.
Yeah. 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 We'll get the ball rolling on that. But Violet sees this grin from Penguin, and it chills her blood. And unfortunately for her, she knew all too well that grin of someone who enjoyed inflicting pain on others, because obviously
she's familiar with that. Yeah,
she's been through a lot. So she listened to him giggle as he clipped something from the newspaper and carefully glued it into a big old scrapbook. So once she knows that he's gone, I need to see what's the contents of this book. And then this is when not only do we get this obituary from the chef that he put through hell, but as she flips through, she starts to see all of these other people.
it's just filled with scrapbooks of people he's had killed, in a wide variety of ways. Hit and run, suicide, accidentally bites off own tongue,
And then you see here in the bottom right corner, local schoolgirls, the victims of a bizarre bird attack. You're like, So as we go on here to the next page, then the girls who played the joke on him the night of the big dance. So we go back to the night of that. They'd been the first to learn what it meant to scoff at the Penguin, and we get our bird attack
you
here.
picture like Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds taking place right here, and he's there to watch you every bit of it.
Yeah. We go back, Violet, dear, as he's asking, honey, are you awake? Once again, has those same flowers that he had at the beginning of the issue. So he's saying he got some fresh flowers cut, and you see her in the background, she's packing the bags.
And that intense look of like, you could probably feel like the pit in his stomach, like, Violet, like, just absolute shock. Like, oh my God, like he's putting it together really quickly and just heartbroken in this moment here. Like that's the look of a heartbroken man, that first reaction. And as she's confronted, like, please don't kill me, like immediately thinking that that's what she is. You're like, why would you say that? Mm-hmm. I'm crazy about you. Like, I saw what you did to those people.
Mm-hmm. And she calls him. She makes a point to call him a monster right here.
And this is when the Penguin, like, if he really, really, granted, he's done it. He's proud of what he's done, but this is where the Penguin has failed to learn lessons in life. Like, look, a lot of us can experience what it's like to have been bullied. Maybe not to the excessive extent that what Oswald Cobblepot. If you read Pain and Prejudice, the one that Penny recommended, and same thing with Mr. Rogues, like, that's another one of intense, like, bullying from family and others. And the Penguin miniseries that's on HBO Max, like, takes some kind of nods from that in terms of what the Penguin was willing to do to others as a youngster. But this if he really, really, that's all he wanted, like, he would renounce a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, he feels like, I'll never be able to find true love or the affection of a good woman without power and control and ways to manipulate the situation to work in my favor, as opposed to, like, look, what hurts people, what it's like to be hurt, like, learn those lessons, and don't bring that more of that into the world. And this is where it's like he's getting his comeuppance. Like, you have the capability of being a good man and getting what you've always wanted, but you know what? You would much rather bring misfortune to others who you're assuming don't like you or are laughing at you, or even the ones from his past, like outside of the girls, like they could have been people who just happened to cross paths with him by accident.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, sir, and looked at him funny. I think it's in Pain and Prejudice. Someone looks at him funny, and he has them broken because of how they look at him.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like, you know, if he had any kind of heart, he would understand it, take the loss, and learn from it. But
but he doesn't.
He doesn't, because that's what makes him a fucking villain.
Yep. And she makes a point to call him a monster twice. He says, please don't say that. And she says she's leaving. If you want to stop me, you're going to have to kill me. And then calls him a sick freak. And he says, yes, I hear you, but don't call me Oswald. So
that's not my name.
Hey, Penguin. And now we're going back, and now the girls, Cobblepot, you discussing little creep, come here. So the night of the dance, they go, and
they know who did it, you know.
Yeah.
So they find him in his little bird sanctuary at home and beat the fuck out of him.
Yep. If I was you, Cobblepot, I'd stay the hell away from the girls for the rest of my life. Just stick to your stupid birds. Yes, my birds. I have my birds. I always got my birds. But then one of the birds bites him, and then once again you get that flash of rage that he gets. You bit me, I can't believe it. You see his eyes turn red right here, and then
he kills all the birds in his bird sanctuary out of that one bite.
Yep. And then
now he has nothing.
And now immediately, I'm sorry. He says, I'm sorry, Violet. I'm sorry things didn't work out between us. You know how it goes. It's nobody's fault, really. These things just happen. I know we'll both get over it in time. Who knows? Maybe we'll run into each other again someday. If so, I hope we can still be friends. Regardless, I just want you to know that I wish you nothing but the best as you move forward with your life. And then we get the girls from the limousine saying, come on, I'm starving. Let's go get dinner. And he says, hey, I told you to go wait in the car. And then he says, well, as you can see, I better get going. So I guess this is it. Goodbye, Violet. And there she is.
She's back in the cage.
Yeah. As he walks away. And then we have Joker here chiming in at the end of this issue. So as usual, the Penguin got the last laugh. But what he didn't understand was that he who laughs last usually laughs alone. That's the moral of the story, right? Or maybe it's if you can't be with the one you love the one you're with, or maybe kill them all, let God sort them out. I'm not sure. I guess I'm probably not the best person to ask when it comes to morals. Oh, well, I'll try to do better next time. Ta-ta for now. You could also, I mean, I know it's, if you could maybe break it down in a way too, if you really wanted to. And most people are like, no, maybe because where she comes back into the picture here, one could say, well, I guess they dropped him off and left earlier. But if you really wanted to, maybe you could work it in a way that he was looking at her earlier, and then all of that stuff that happened in between then is stuff that he imagined, so he's just leaving her there. But no, that's not the case. It's like he took her back and left her there. But that's one angle that you could have maybe taken it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like just his paranoia of how things work out with anybody he's tried to be nice to, you know, this is what he assumes is going to happen, and just processes this entire scenario and says, like, you know what? I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, because that could play into the aspect of just how, I'm not going to say insane, but there is that level of insanity to him. He's not as insane as the Joker because he does have that little bit of him that is capable of caring to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But yeah. So just one week and you get the Poison Ivy issue. That's what it says. Just one short week until, Joker's Asylum featuring Poison Ivy. So if you enjoyed this, even though Tyler says some of the other ones he checked out weren't as good, I might check out some of the other ones just to see what I think of them, because we talked about this plenty of times. I was always like, I need to do this. And I finally bit the bullet. I am back on the DC Infinite app. So any of the DC comics I can read. And there is a major reason for that, which we'll talk about after the break. But yeah, Tyler, thanks for recommending this one, because that was a very good read.
Yeah, because we tend to be more Marvel based, but there are some exceptionally good DC stuff. Just taking the time to dig around, or taking recommendations from people who know more about, a wide variety of DC, really, for whether it's Penny or Mr. Rogues. Again, I highly suggest checking out his channel if you're not familiar with him.
I'll put a link in the description below.
Yeah, because like I said, he doesn't know who I am by any means, but him and Danielle have
crossed paths.
They crossed paths, so that's more than enough for me. And his content is highly enjoyable. He'll discuss character or villain portrayals in Brave and the Bold, Batman animated series, all the movies, Batman Beyond, the '60s show. Like if it's a live action or Batman media, he will cover it. Everything, the Nolan films, the more recent, the Batman, and I'm sure whenever the sequel, which I heard a rumbling today that, which I'm like, granted, it's just like random bullshit. Like, this could be bullshit, but like Daniel Craig is Harvey Dent possibly.
Yeah, I heard about.
I hope the fuck all that happens, man.
I saw a thing that if it's not Daniel Craig, on the short list that they have is the next in line. They want Liam Neeson to do it. So not at this point. Like Liam years ago, I think could have been good for that. But man, Daniel Craig's got it, dude. Like, But when you think about it with Harvey Dent and just having the split personalities, obviously with Liam Neeson, you think of Darkman.
Oh yeah, the fucking elephant. And Liam could have, absolutely. The flip flop of personality that he did in Darkman, that alone makes him a prime candidate to play Harvey Dent. But I don't know. I feel like I can't see Liam at this stage in his career like playing, maybe if he was doing like that stretch after he did Taken and everyone wants to cast him as like, the same character, like an older man with a gun kind of thing. Like, that'd have been time for the iron to strike. I just kind of feel like at this point he might be a little bit long in the tooth to do it. But people might say the same thing about Daniel. I want someone in the 20s. Like,
Harvey
Dent, like you don't need someone who's youthful to play a lot of these characters. Just like Jack Nicholson played the Joker. He certainly was not a young man at all.
That's true.
So there's right there is a prime example. You do not need youth to portray Batman villains. Catwoman needs to be a youthful character. The Riddler can be middle-aged. Bane can be middle-aged. Mr. Freeze can be middle-aged. Poison Ivy could be, a little bit more on the youthful, but not like a fucking teen or something like that. A woman in her 30s, hell, even her 40s. Honestly, at this point, if you look the part, I don't give a fuck how old you are. And I thought when I saw Daniel Craig as Harvey Dent, like, oh my God, that's just genius casting, and hope it's in a better movie than the Batman was.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing, is to try not to overstuff it this time around. But before we start to kind of dabble some more in that extracurricular conversation, let's go ahead. We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Stay tuned.
DC. Incredible. Action. Astonishing. Adventure. The coolest heroes. The hottest heroines. And the most outrageous villains. Too tough for TV. In the universe.
These ain't your daddy's comic books, fanboy.
The DC Comics.
Get your DC Comics at Merlin's Downtown or Gorilla Bob's on the North Side.
Talking bass fishing off the station club.
Ultraverse on sale today.
Comic book store. Let's go.
They couldn't be there in 38 for the launch of that Super Guy, or in 62 for the launch of that Spider Guy, but they can be there now for the birth of the Ultraverse.
Line! That way!
Prime Hard Case, first editions in comic shops June 16th. To enter to win one of 200 special edition posters, call this number now.
On June 7th, stop them. Evil beware. Evil be warned.
I killed him years ago.
Evil be ready.
Well, guess what? He's back.
There are those who say he is only a myth. Soon they will discover the Phantom is real. Rated PG. At theaters everywhere. June 7th.
And we're back. I mentioned earlier that I got the DC app I decided to jump back into it. And the reason is because a couple weeks ago, people have been talking about it. I've been seeing rumblings, especially of one character in particular, but it's the absolute stuff. Everyone's all about absolute Batman. And I started looking up more stuff and realized, okay, obviously they did Wonder Woman, they did Superman, but they did Martian Manhunter. And I was looking at that, and people were giving it praise for the way that they were telling the stories, and especially the art and how trippy everything was, and melding all this stuff together. So I went on Amazon and I pulled the trigger on volume 1 and 2 of Absolute Batman, which covers the first, I think, 14 issues. And then went ahead and got Absolute Martian Manhunter, which is the first 6, and read all 3 of them last week. And Batman's pretty good. I'm not losing my mind like some other people are, but I absolutely loved Absolute Martian Manhunter. And so much so I started getting curious. I'm like, should I read Wonder Woman? Should I check out Superman? And that's the biggest reason I got that. So I can read the other Batman, Martian Manhunter books instead of waiting for the trade paperbacks to come out. Because I got those, and the whole thing now too is I let Dad read them before I get them. And Dad liked Absolute Batman, and with Martian Manhunter, he said, yeah, it's a little too weird for me. And I'm like, I totally understand that, but I read it and I loved it. We'll mostly
I think it's just cool that he wants to read them. Like, I love that. I think it's so fucking cool.
And I'll talk a little bit about Absolute Batman. So the whole thing with this whole Absolute universe is it's taking these characters you know and love, but altering stuff in a different way. So with Batman, he's not rich. The Wayne family is not this pillar of Gotham. In fact, his dad's just a school teacher, and they're just low to middle class citizens. So he's still very smart. He wins this trip for him and his class to go to the zoo. There's a guy there that opens fire for one reason or another. His dad gets killed. So it still sets him on the same path. A parent gets shot. His mom's still alive, but a parent gets shot, and he still seeks vengeance. But the other aspect of it is all of the rogue, or a chunk of the rogues gallery are actually his friends in school. So it's Catwoman, Penguin, Riddler, Two-Face, and Killer Croc are all his friends in school at the time. And there's just this whole thing of, as he's older and he's becoming Batman and wiping this out. So Alfred's actually part of this bigger picture. He's also very much, it plays off the fact of Alfred's backstory and what they tried to do lately with, in his prime, he was ruthless, and he was, he's very good at fighting people. So they set that precedence of, he works with an organization that's been following all this stuff, and now it's made its way into Gotham, and he's observed Bruce, and he's like, well, they've set Bruce as a target, so Alfred's there. His intention is to take him out, but he ends up admiring him so much they start working together a little bit. And there's this whole other thing of, he lets Bruce know, yes, they've been building these things called arcs all over the planet, and they've been labeled in alphabetical order. So Arc A is here, Arc B, whatever. And the one that they're going to instill in Gotham, of course, is Arc M. You get it? Arkham. And it's ran, and they allude to all of this as being run by a guy, and he never laughs and all this stuff. So it's going to be the Joker. But for the most part, it's okay. The only thing I ever had a problem with during this is it's trying so hard to just be edgy in the terms of its language. So you see just a lot of cussing in it, and how they do in comics where it's written out in the various letters. They do that in a long
Halloween movie, and I'm like, this seems like so off-putting when you see Batman characters like saying motherfucker and fuck you, and it just seems like, that's what makes some of the best writing about these comics is, like, they get across the message without having to use like the like either putting it next in like symbols and exclamation points that gets the point across. But when you actually hear, like, if I were to hear Jack Nicholson's Joker said, die motherfucker, like, it'd be like, no, not in the Batman movie. And I feel like that seems forced and unnecessary, and also it feels like, you could get away with having like maybe one or two people knowing Bruce Wayne as a child. Selena Kyle and Harvey, I could say, okay, yeah, I could buy that.
Mm-hmm.
But not Oswald, not Edward Nygma, certainly not Killer Croc. And I think, to me, and that's one of the things I didn't like about Smallville. And even though the concept of Smallville was based off I think it was like a Superboy comic, where like Superboy and Lex Luthor were like knew each other as like teens, I think, or something. I was like, okay, whatever. But I'm like, I don't like that idea of Clark and Lex knowing each other, being buddies at one point or something. It's just, I don't like making connections with superheroes and supervillains like they grew up knowing each other, and now they think they're gonna this tragic because they used to be friends. Like, you don't make the world so damn small, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I understand that, and the aspect that they're taking this in now as well is the company that's doing all this. So Arkham's basically, they're doing these experiments and changing people, and one of the people in there is Bane, and Bane's out to like find someone to kind of replace him, and he sees Bruce as that. So it takes breaking the bat like you would that people know and love, but putting that twist on it. So that's, I guess, while the language part of it, and they don't have it written out, obviously they have it in just the multiple symbols and leave it to be implied. I can forgive it in that instance because I have to think, yes, this is an alternate universe. But while they're doing that and they're doing these experiments on people, this is when they start to find out, oh, these people are close to Bruce and taking these characters. So far, they did it with Harvey and Oswald and Killer Croc. So they take them and basically they're turning them into what's going to probably more than likely end up being his rogues gallery. And I get that, but I have to look at it from, we're taking this different twist to it and just rolling with it.
Well, so I can appreciate the twist of like, okay, his father gets killed and his mother's still alive. They come from a lower class, or just like, lower middle class, or even like low class. And I could buy that he works his way up, learns, trains himself, and even with Alfred not being a butler, like they wouldn't need to have a butler. Like, I think they imply like in that Pennyworth series that never really got off the ground, like he's part of like the British Secret Service or something along those lines. Yeah. Like, I could buy that. So that's part of that. Okay, it's again, Batman, Bruce Wayne should have no acknowledgement of any of his rogues galleries other than Harvey Dent. And even then, not every incarnation of Harvey Dent is like real close buddies with Bruce Wayne. Sometimes they don't know each other until he's become Batman and he's district attorney, and that's it. And then the others were, yes, they are close. Like, that's the only one I could buy of like that they were buddies. And Selena Kyle's even kind of pushing it too. Because I like to think that he's drawn to her because of, she's attractive and she flirts with him and just kind of fucks around with his emotions, as opposed to like growing up together. And
even in this, with them growing up together, they definitely have a thing for each other. And as they get older, they've clearly messed around and stuff, but she still manages to still take on that life of being in her own little space and dabbling. In this iteration, I guess she is dabbling a little bit in crime, but it's a little bit different. But I still recommend it to people to check it out, just to see this different type of universe. Like I mentioned to you, Wonder Woman is raised by Hades, so it's going to be just that little bit of an opposite take. With Superman, there's no Kent family. He's as far as I know, he's just there and he's going. But I'll probably dabble and read in that too. And then obviously, of course, I'll go back and jump into the other stuff that I was reading. Like, I want to jump back into Swamp Thing again, because I was looking at it, I was like, damn, I read like the first 20 issues of Swamp Thing right there. So there's a lot to dabble in. Plus, it also helps with the show. It's easier access for me for us to cover some more DC stuff going down the road, because we have been a little Marvel heavy, and I think I
think we both, even though we love our Batman and some other, I think both of us tend to be more Marvel from Spider-Man, Daredevil, Wolverine.
But kind of right now, I'm in this mood. I'm in this mood where I'm like, yeah, DC stuff. So much so, I've been putting it off, but I watched the final episode of Batman: The Brave and the Bold, and I love it because we get Batmite. Paul Rubens returns as Batmite, and the whole basis of the story is Batmite is bored of the show, and I'm gonna make these changes so the show gets canceled. So he shows up. He's like, yeah, the fanboys really love it when you do this. They love it when you have to just pointlessly integrate parts that are in the toy line. So they do that whole thing. They take Aquaman shows up and it's like, nah, sorry, Joe DiMaggio, we're gonna fire you and put Ted McGinley from Married with Children. He's gonna do the voice for Aquaman. And doing all these things, and then it cuts to a son and his dad watching the show, and his dad's like, yeah, this show used to be really good, but whatever. So it's just them putting down the show, but just being very meta about it because the show had been canceled. So it's like, let's just wrap it up this way.
Let's make fun of it. Let's make fun and just have fun with like, yeah, this is bullshit. So we'll just make fun of it.
Yep. And it just, when it ended, I was like, oh, like that was just such a nice way to do this. I cannot recommend that series enough to anyone. It's on Tubi right now for free if you want to watch it. Still on Max. I think I'm probably just going to buy the Blu-rays just to have them. In the event that it's not on Max anymore, it just disappears from streaming services for whatever reason. But do yourself a favor and check it out. Every episode's a lot of fun, and you can find at least some nugget in it that either gives you a good chuckle, and I mean that in the best possible way. It's not taking the piss. It's not taking the piss out of anything. It's just that homage to Silver Age Batman, and I loved every bit of it. So. Yeah,
I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I certainly enjoyed it when I did dabble in it as well too.
Yeah, you need to jump back into it.
Yeah, because there's a bunch. I just jumped all over the place. I didn't watch episodes consecutive. I just like, okay, that one sounded interesting. Let's watch this one. And Nathan said, check out that one. So
yeah,
that's what I normally do with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and then last night, after reading this Penguin story, because I haven't revisited it in a while, and I had downloaded because they came out many years ago. They came out with, I guess it's not really remastered, but it's the Batman Arkham Asylum game and Arkham City packaged together. I think it came out on PS4, but it was really cheap on sale, and I bought it months ago, and I think I had Arkham installed on there, meaning to go and start it again, and I started it again last night. I'm like, yeah, this game still holds up. I love the combat in those Rocksteady Batman games. So I'll probably play some more of that tonight because there's just so much good about that game in particular. Like Arkham City, it starts to open up a little more. I'm like, I appreciate this for what this is, but I love just how confined that first game was with being in just Arkham Asylum, and you're going around different spots, and there's Riddler trophies that you got to find, and over time you unlock other Bat gadgets that you can backtrack to the other parts and expose this part so you can find another Riddler trophy or another collectible or whatever. I'm like, yeah, this is the kind of shit that I love, because when it came out on 360 back in 2009, played the shit out of that and loved every minute of it. So it's going to be good to revisit. I doubt I'll go and try to find all the Riddler trophies like I did before, because I do remember that being a pain in the ass, as it should be, right? Because it's the Riddler.
It needs to be the Riddler if it wasn't fucking hard.
Yeah, and it needs to be a pain in the ass. So my plan with that, maybe, if I don't just do what I normally do with video games these days, is I'll start to play it, get a chunk into it, and then life happens and I get unmotivated and I don't finish. But I would like very much to finish Arkham Asylum again, replay Arkham City, because I did play that when that came out, 2010, 2011, whenever that was. Beat that again, and then play that third game. There's an Arkham Origins game that I had on 360 that I don't think has gotten a remaster, but that one's not as good, and Rocksteady wasn't working on it. But maybe that's something I revisit too, if that's got some sort of remaster. But yeah, I'm very much in a Batman mood right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, well,
I love it.
We'll see what else I'll end up reading on the app. But it's nice to jump back into it. I'm glad that app works a lot better than it did the last time I had it. Yeah, it's way functionality of it, just the way that it loads stuff, way more snappier. I think they took a lot of the criticisms the heart, and I'm like, yeah, we need to make this more like the Marvel.
It wasn't too
Unlimited
long
app.
ago. They were doing a cross promotion with Marvel, and Marvel was like plugging like the DC app. Like,
Yeah. Well, I know that there's a Batman Deadpool comic that's out right now.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about that.
I don't either. Once again, it needs to be Batman and Daredevil. Like more of that.
And they've done two. I haven't read the other one. The first one is underwhelming. Like, it's too damn short, and trying to cram, the story that really needs like multiple issues to tell like a very much more, cohesive story, where it's like we're just cramming as much, like it's not even that epic of a story, but it's just we're just trying to cram, like the Batman Spider-Man crossover that works better for the story it's trying to tell. We're telling a story like the Kingpin hires the Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, I don't really buy that, like the Scarecrow's, it just for what he does, and like, I just feel like you could have, picked a different Batman villain to work with the Kingpin. The Scarecrow, I don't know, I just didn't quite buy, the logic that the Kingpin actually go into business with the Scarecrow.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple I was like, maybe even Two-Face, even he's a crime boss, but he's fucking nuts too. I could almost see that, Scarecrow. I just feel like it's much more, even though he'll team up with villains, I see him as more of not someone, just not the kind of type I see the Kingpin ever teaming up with. And the Batman and Kingpin collide in the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, it gets both characters over strong. It doesn't make one look weaker than the other kind of thing.
Well, of course, you can't do that.
Can't do that, but
yeah.
It still is like, they missed a good opportunity here. And I still feel that Kingpin and Penguin maybe working together, and Bullseye maybe plays both sides, not deliberately, but Penguin's willing to buy his services, and Kingpin like is kind of fighting over that, and it's like this big kind of like, a big deal that these two are coming together for a specific purpose to work together on, smuggling, money laundering, drugs, arms, whatever.
All of it.
All of it. And it's just Bullseye's kind of brought in as like to oversee the transaction to make sure nothing gets fucked up. And he comes across the Batman for the first time, and is intrigued, but doesn't do anything at first and just wants to watch and observe. Oh, he left a batarang here. Like, I'll use this to kill him at some point. And
Mm-hmm.
Daredevil is investigating Oswald Cobblepot, and it even comes in as Matt Murdock as a lawyer that, has been inquired about, acquiring his services. And
you could, even if Bullseye gets a hold of Batarang, use it to his advantage, where he could set up to where, Batman's killing people.
Yeah.
Or at least one instance, Batman murders.
Like
come on, look, the
something to really
Batarang's here.
like set Batman behind. Like, now you got to worry about, clearing your name.
Yeah.
Someone who's using exact precision. Like, and Batman's like, look, I'm really good with these things, but this guy is aiming for things that even I can't do.
Yeah.
This guy killed a man with the batarang to the neck.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I can see Batman saying, like, look, I'm very, very precise, but I cannot hit any moving target at that level of precision. Like, this has got to be like a specialist.
Yeah.
And then Batman's like telling Daredevil, like, look, not only this, but like, someone is framing me for crimes I didn't commit. He's killing people, and I don't kill, but people are convinced that it because a batarang is being used against. Like, wait. How's the batarang being killed? And he's like talking about these it's like, Daryl's like, I know who's doing it.
Mm. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's get some finances together, and let's.
Yeah. We'll co-write a Batman Daredevil crossover, and Kevin can illustrate it, and we'll just give him all the proceeds.
Yeah, there we go. Before we go ahead and get out of here, because Tyler, on most nights you're reading some comics.
I'm reading comics. Yeah, I always read comics before I go to bed. Yeah.
Is there anything Marvel or DC that you would like to toss out as a recommendation for people to make sure to check out?
Oh man,
kind of a loaded question, I know.
Yeah, just because I like to reread stuff I've read a lot. Like, a lot of times I read Marvel Team Up just because it's kind of a fun little comforting comic. Variety of Spider-Man team ups with
What was it?
heroes
You were talking about what was it? Brother Voodoo.
Brother Voodoo, yeah, there's a Marvel team with him and Brother Voodoo to take out Moondog, who is in whose spirit is kind of landed in I forgot what the name of the character is, but they go to like a live voodoo theater to actually engage in like voodoo rituals and human sacrifice, and it's this particular woman that has been picked out, and Brother Voodoo and Spider-Man are like trying to protect her, and then she's taken and brought to this theater to engage in like a full ritual live in front of an audience, and Brother Voodoo and Spider-Man have to show up and stop, and it's one of the best covers of the entire series, and I tell you what, maybe people are curious, like I'll send Nathan an image of that cover as we're having this conversation.
Yeah, I'll put it up right there so everyone can get the idea.
Yeah, but I like to read those a lot of times at night, and then go back and reread random issues of the Punisher, issues of Daredevil from the 70s and the 80s, of course, like a lot of the Frank Miller stuff, like just a lot of like self-contained issues, because sometimes I don't feel like reading an arc. I just like reading one issue, because sometimes I get drowsy. I'm like, all right, I'm good, and so it's kind of all over the place. I like tonight, I have no idea what I'll read. I'll just kind of go through them. Like I'm in a Punisher mood tonight, or I want to read some Larry Hama Wolverine, or I've read a lot of I've read some Spider-Man from the 90s. Like where early Venom, when Venom is an actual villain and not
Mm-hmm.
And and going back and rereading a lot of those, I get why a lot of people don't like the character too, because it's a one-note character that feels kind of forced to be like this. It's more about the visual. I think if the visual wasn't as captivating as it was, I don't think the character would have been nowhere near as popular as he was.
Yeah. Because the whole thing too is originally they wanted it to just bounce around from person to person, and it just would be this thing that would make a slightly different version of the Venom character. But But with it as the way it was, you mentioned that the way the visual of it was so striking, is that, well, we can't take this and have it.
Well, it's just we'll just leave it. And because the character of Eddie Brock too is like, his motivation is quite limited.
Yeah,
it's not like, but even then too, like most Spider-Man villains, like it's more like Spider-Man's trying to stop them. It's not so much personal, whereas the symbiote itself is, it's has a personal vendetta against Peter Parker for rejecting it, and it finds the proper host who's mad at Spider-Man. So
yeah, even if those intentions aren't really as high stakes with what it's latching onto, is what you are led to believe. But check out some with having the DC app now. I was going to say this before the closing, just leave some comments. I know you guys like to leave us, hey, I would like for you to cover this. I'd like for you to cover this. Do that. But also, for me personally, since I got the DC app now, let's go some DC specific for me. If you got some recommendations, hey, Nathan, I want you to go and just read this. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below and toss out all that stuff to me, because at this point, I'll just kind of read anything, really. Like much like I don't mind arcs at all. So I will sit and read through them all, or like start it and then come back the next day and finish it. I totally understand your viewpoint, though. If I'm in bed, I just want to read something that's sort of a one and done as I'm getting tired, and then just be done with it and go to sleep. But toss out any recommendations for me that you guys have out there, and I'll sit and I'll read it, and I'll give a review here at the end parts when we do the spinner rack. I'll save the comic talk mostly for this. I won't let it tread over into Master Powercast as much. But I guess in Tyler's broad sense, check out some of those team up issues. Check out some Daredevil. Check out some Punisher. Punisher stuff's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, some people can write them piss poor too. Like
Well, that applies to every character.
I mean, it's everybody
at this point.
Yeah. Even if it's like someone who you got some familiar talent working on it, sometimes it's like, oh man, I don't agree with the direction you're taking this character in here right now. But I mean, every character has had great moments, and other times like, oh boy, what the hell were they thinking here?
Yeah.
And you know what? There's someone across the planet, maybe across the state, maybe across the road, because like this is the best thing I've ever read.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the beauty of it. It's all subjective at the end of the day. People are gonna have their opinions, but actually, too, also leave me a comment if you've been reading some of the Absolute stuff. Let me know your thoughts on if you've been reading all of it, because they have an Absolute Flash, an Absolute Green Lantern book. Maybe after I check out Wonder Woman and Superman, maybe I check out Flash. I need to read some more Flash stuff because you were talking. You had read dabbled a little bit in some Flash stuff and enjoyed that. So I need to do that. Maybe some Green Lantern stuff too. And you mentioned Green Arrow.
Anything written by Jeff Johns, I feel like that's what everyone's go-to is with Green Lantern. You know, but I associate him as the guy that came up with Sir Laser-Lot, and him and Scott Allen being buddies. I'm like, oh fuck him.
And you mentioned prior to recording some Green Arrow stuff. You need to read some Green Arrow books as well. So yeah, very much. I'm glad I decided to go ahead and dip my toes back in and just spend that money. I just did the annual sub too. I'm like, let's just go for it.
Knock it out.
Yeah. And I went with the Ultra subscription, so I get all the Vertigo stuff too. I'm like,
I think that's what I did. I think because there wasn't. It's either like you get like the bare minimum or go Ultra. So I was like, well, I guess I'll go with the Ultra.
Yeah. So I'm locked in for the next year, man. At least.
All right.
So, but the problem is with that. So I reopened this. So as of this recording, this is probably going to go up weeks after we've recorded this, but doing it here in March. And I'm pretty sure like 10 days from now, I'm going to get charged for my annual subscription for Marvel Unlimited. So I'm like, yeah, I planned that out real good, but hey, it'll all be fine in the end. So there's some recommendations. Check out some of the Absolute stuff. And give me your thoughts on that. Give me some DC recommendations since I have the app. Check out the vastness of characters that Tyler just said. If you haven't done this already, make sure you like this episode, comment down below, subscribe, and until later, we'll catch you next issue.
Shit, I picked the cute one.
Oh no. So
I'm trying to think because I don't want to go too obvious.
Pick the cute one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a line like again that's not going to be like overly, like oh yeah, it's obvious now.
I mean, hey, you never know.
Here's another one. Dad, Mr. Mayor, it's time to go down and bring joy to the masses. Santa Claus, afraid not. I'm just a poor schmo and got lucky. And sue me if I want to give some back.
No. Okay. No, I think, yeah. Well, yeah. No, I don't think I'm going to get this.
All right, I'll go with my last one, which I think is a quote I've used before. Admiring your handiwork, touring the riot scene, gravely assessing the devastation, upstanding mayor stuff. You're not the mayor.
It's gonna be Batman Returns.
Yeah.
God, that second one, when you did it, I was like, I think it's Batman Returns, but I'm not gonna sit there and be. I should just start going with my gut and just saying that stuff.
You just throw it out.
Yeah, because I would have gotten it right. Damn it.
Yeah, it may too obvious, but I'm like, yeah. If I go with like, yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I quoted this like years, like a good while back. Like,
but hey, you never know with these things. You in your mind, it could be stating something very obvious to yourself and the listeners, but to me, crickets.
Yeah.
No idea. All right, so we'll say I kind of got that one.
No, I give you credit for that one. You didn't give up, so.
Yeah, I learned from the best. John Cena, happy retirement. You kind of wonder if he'll come out of retirement. He's probably.
They always do. It's wrestling. Everyone comes out of retirement, just like a Terry Funk. Look at Ric Flair.
Yeah, and even Shawn Michaels did it. He did it. Yeah,
and The Rock can't stay away. He's got to come back and get himself over when his movies don't do what the fuck.
Yeah, he's probably due back any minute now.
Yeah.
Shit, it would be funny. We're recording this in March. WrestleMania is coming up. I put this episode after the fact, and somehow The Rock's come back, and I'm like, oh, why?
Yeah.
Why? Just just stay away. Go do your movies, which, you know, I am not opposed to watching The Smashing Machine, but I heard that it's pretty much verbatim of the documentary that it was basing itself off of. So I'm sitting there. Well, I can just watch the documentary. I don't have to watch The Rock as this guy. Who knows? Who knows? But thanks for watching.
Take care. Appreciate your time.